Good morning to all, and I want to thank you for attending this MS Views and News program. My name is Stuart Schlossman. I'm president and founder of MS Views and News. Today's program is a Compass MS Care program. We are sponsored today by Bristol Myers Squibb, Genentech, Sandoz, and TG Therapeutics, and I want to thank all of them, and I hope you all thank them as well. A little round of applause would be great. Today's program, we have Paul Pelland, and following Paul Pelland and his talk, which will be about 25 or 30 minutes, and then we'll do a Q&A with Paul. So let's get started here, all right? I want to introduce Paul first. So, Paul Pelland, he's a former top 10 motorcycle endurance competitor from New Hampshire who now travels the country raising awareness and funds for multiple sclerosis. His goal is to document riding 1 million miles while sharing his inspirational story about multiple sclerosis at and motorsport events. Despite having MS himself, in 10 years, he's ridden over 500,000 miles, set 4 world records, and has raised over $250,000 for MS charities. Please, let's welcome Long Haul Paul.
Well, thank you, Stuart. Thanks for inviting me here. It's Stuart and MS Views and News that really makes programs like this possible, which is great. This is a great way to meet other people in your community and also learn a little bit more about MS and have a free chicken dinner or lunch. I do recognize quite a few of you, although it's been a few years since I've actually done a program in New Hampshire, but I've been doing these programs for almost a decade now, and it is nice to be in my home turf. In fact, I live so close, I didn't even ride my motorcycle here today. I took the car. Like I said, attending MS educational events like this one is a great way to learn, not just from the professionals that are here, but also from all of us sitting around the table. MS Views and News is providing great educational programs in rural America, which is really good, where a lot of the pharmaceutical companies aren't putting on programs because it might be 50 or 100 miles from the closest airport. And these people that have MS that are living in these areas, they still need the education, maybe even a little bit more than some of us that are closer to MS centers and great neurological care in our neighborhoods. So MS Views and News has been putting on these programs, which is really amazing, which is why that I've joined up with them and helping them do a lot of these programs. Today I would like to share a little bit about my motorcycle background. Some of you know a little bit about me, but I want to share a little bit about my background, my disease, my MS, and also some basic principles for riding a motorcycle that I think can also help teach us about riding through the challenges in life. This year, I am celebrating 18 years with multiple sclerosis. And yes, I said celebrate because it's been 18 years with no real signs of disease progression. Because of changes that I made in my lifestyle, I also feel healthier now than before I was diagnosed. I'm also celebrating because I've decided that multiple sclerosis is not going to control my life or define who I am, ever. In fact, I'm using my MS to return to a forgotten passion while raising awareness and funds for a cure. I'm celebrating having MS as a positive in my life, quite frankly, because it isn't going away, and being okay with it feels a hell of a lot better than the alternative feelings. Now, I'm not going to say I don't have those days when I don't feel sad or angry, fearful, or depressed about having MS. I do. Or those days when the symptoms really get the best of me. I'm just choosing to concentrate my thoughts and energy on some of the good things that having MS has brought me. Like today, MS got me out of cleaning the house, doing yard work, raking up those Damn acorns. Anybody have oak trees with the acorns already fallen? Buckets and buckets of them. My God. The squirrels are happy. If I didn't have MS, I'd be raking leaves, acorns, mowing the lawn, or fighting a line at the market basket for the chicken thighs. You see that? Chicken thighs on sale? I'd be at Market Basket. So I'm glad I'm doing something positive. I'm sharing my story with you, and it's all because I have MS. You see how this can work? Now, my course of the disease has been quite manageable, and I know not everyone's MS is the same, but having multiple sclerosis should never be on a list of how we see or describe ourselves. MS is certainly not who I am, and MS is not who you are. If you look multiple sclerosis up in the dictionary, you're not going to see my picture. So make sure your picture doesn't make it there either. I identify as a man. I identify as a husband most of the time, a father, a grandfather, and I'm an avid motorcyclist. As you know, the disease, symptoms, and its progression is different in every single patient. And in my case, the majority of my MS symptoms have been cognitive. Short-term memory loss, mental fatigue, multitasking, short-term memory loss, impaired planning, decision-making, and short-term memory loss. Despite the hours I've spent preparing this slideshow, I have no idea what slide comes next. Thankfully, we have some assistive technology to help us out. I also have some weakness and loss of dexterity in my hands, some numbness, burning issues, tingling sensations, as well as some wonderful bladder issues. Unlike Dr. Cabot here, I am not an MS expert. But as an avid motorcyclist who now travels extensively across the country, I found a way to navigate around the potholes in my life, and by pursuing my passion, I was able to discover my life's purpose. Getting diagnosed with relapsing multiple sclerosis certainly made me feel like I was on a dead-end street. But learning to apply some principles for properly riding a motorcycle, I was able to see how MS was just another part of my life's adventure. And I learned how to keep it from blocking my road to happiness. I've been riding motorcycles now for over 30 years. I ride motorcycles like most people drive cars. I commute, I travel, I go shopping with my bike. I've ridden in all the lower 48 states, Mexico, Canada, Alaska. Riding a motorcycle to me is as natural as breathing. I found the therapy of riding long distances a good way to escape from a bad marriage, a boggled divorce, and what became a monstrous 10-year custody ordeal. Pain, anxiety, fear, anger, all went away the more miles and hours that I rode. When I ride my motorcycle today, I don't have MS. By 2003, I had become one of the top long-distance motorcycle riders in the country, and I was at the pinnacle of my riding career. I was selected to ride in the world's toughest motorcycle competition called the Iron Butt Rally. And although I managed a top 10 finish, in the 11-day, 11,000-mile event, something happened during that rally that would forever alter the course of my life. I don't remember arriving at the mid-rally checkpoint hotel, but I must have looked like hell because I was ordered to skip the mandatory riders meeting and go directly to my hotel room. They did manage to tell me, however, that I was currently in first place in the points. I had prearranged to share a hotel room with a fellow New Hampshire rider, a friend. The next morning, something was very wrong with me that sleep didn't fix. I had no strength in my hands. They were tingling and numb. I couldn't hold a pen. Was it the heat? Was it fatigue? Whatever the reason, I was also confused and disorientated, and I was unable to plan a good route for the next leg of the event. Later that morning, I came across an accident, and although the motorcycle was partially upside down, I thought I recognized it. I stopped and went over to the rider, who was being helped by EMTs. They asked me if I knew who he was, and I said yes. But suddenly, I had no idea what his name was. I was haunted for years by the fact I could not remember a friend's name and the rider that I had shared a room with the night before. After finishing the event, my arm weakness and cognitive symptoms, they continued. And I eventually saw a neurologist who did a few office tests and said he was pretty sure I had, and I quote, crap for brains. But, he said, let's run a few more tests so that we can rule out the bad stuff. Well, when he later told me my MRI scans were remarkable, I thought I was getting a lollipop or maybe a watermelon-scented sticker. Apparently remarkable meant something totally different in med school. They found 5 lesions in my brain. Unfortunately, the jokes were over, and we would not be ruling out the bad stuff. I retired from competing, I sold my bikes, and I gave up riding motorcycles altogether. Tossed away my dreams, my plans for the future. I sold my business, and I prepared for the absolute worst. Well, the worst that I had imagined, it never showed up. So I stopped waiting for it. I've been happily married for most of the past 17 years. My kids have grown and moved away. I'm still able to work, and I've not had a major disabling attack for the past 18 years. About 10 years ago, I realized, although I may never be able to compete in endurance rallies again, that I could still ride a motorcycle across the country, and that I had thrown in the towel way too early on a sport that I truly loved. In just a few months, my entire life's road was recalculated, and I'm now living out a great adventure, documenting 1,000,000 miles by motorcycle, raising awareness and funds while trying to encourage others with MS to rediscover or to find a new path as well. Rediscovering long-distance riding and making it a central part of my life has created a wonderful and positive environment for me, opening up doors like writing and speaking, abilities I never knew I had. So I would like to share with you the 4 rules for riding a motorcycle that can also be used to navigate life with or without MS. 4 simple words: learn, look, lean, and live. Before hopping on a new motorcycle, it's extremely important for me to learn about the machine, how it works, and how to take care of it. I need to learn the bike's limits as well as my own. It's equally important to constantly improve my ability by taking refresher courses and learning from more experienced riders. I think that we can learn about MS in the same way, right? What it is, how it affects our own bodies, and what to do about slowing it down. Multiple sclerosis is a puzzle that never gets finished. So it's important to find a great MS specialist who can teach and inform us about our own individual disease and symptoms. I think it's also important to attend informational events like this one. These programs are also a great way to meet and speak to others. Collectively, We are a team of experts, all traveling down the same MS road. I learn something new every time I meet others with MS in programs like this. That's why I love coming to these events. How many of you have learned something from either just other patients at the table or going to events like this in the past? I know it's not just about the dessert. Are we having dessert, Stuart, where's Stuart? Stuart? Oh. Hopefully you have something sweet. I don't know. But it's a great way to learn. The neurologists are great, but, that 10 or 15 minutes you get every 6 months with your appointment is not enough to get all your questions asked, And the internet is not always the best place to find any answers about anything. So it's good to connect with other people. It really was an eye-opener for me when I was first diagnosed, going to the first MS educational event and thinking it was going to be like an Al-Anon meeting or something where everybody hates their husband and all that. But no, it was a way to learn, and really it's a positive way to meet other people and learn how to get through some of those symptoms. The answer isn't always medication or in the books, but it's a combination of everything. Look where you want to go is the next rule. When riding a motorcycle, I have to look in the direction I want to travel. Look as far down the road as I can and look around or beyond any of the hazards in the road to avoid hitting them. If I look directly at something in the road, my bike will veer right towards it, and guess what? I'm going to hit it. It's no secret that living with multiple sclerosis can be an obstacle in life's road, right? Appearing to block the path to happiness that we were traveling down. Sometimes that obstacle is a dead squirrel. Other days, it's more like a giant pothole. But no matter what is in the way, the solution is the same. Look beyond the MS. Look past those symptoms. Keep moving down that road. And by keeping our eyes on our goals and what makes us happy, we eventually will get to where we want to go. The third rule is lean. A moving motorcycle can only change direction by leaning. If the bike doesn't lean into a turn, it will run straight off the road and crash. That's right. So to initiate a lean, I have to push on the handlebar grip in the direction I want to travel. And the bike follows. Everybody knows navigating life with multiple sclerosis can bring us to many forks in the road. And when we arrive at these crossroads, we need to act. We need to push that handlebar, leaning hard towards that new path. Because without that push, all the wishing and hoping in the universe won't help us recalculate direction. I don't know about you, but I am no fan of crashing. So I think it's important to not let MS define who we are or control our life's road. The last rule to motorcycle success is live. And I don't mean just sucking oxygen. Riding a motorcycle involves risks. It's not a secret that riders have a greater risk of injury should they be involved in a collision. But riders accept these higher risks in exchange for rewards of freedom, adventure, and the excitement and pleasure they experience from riding. I ride a motorcycle not because I have a death wish, but because I have a wish to live. The same can be true when living life with a disease that has so many unknowns. It can be risky to start a new activity, start a family, or a new career, plan for a vacation or retirement. But unless we take these risks, we may never achieve the rewards of happiness and success that everyone deserves to experience. So maybe it's time to make that new recipe, or to wear those high heel shoes, join that bowling league, buy that convertible, plan that fishing trip, or jump out of that airplane. Because having an unpredictable disease shouldn't mean that we have to play it safe or give up. Maybe it gives us special permission to learn, to look, to lean, and most of all, to live. In 2001, I didn't yet have any multiple sclerosis symptoms, but I rode a motorcycle that certainly did. And it was while riding in an 11-day endurance competition, thumping along a lonely Wyoming highway at a top speed of 25 miles an hour on a very poor excuse for a motorcycle, that I almost gave up on one of the greatest crossroads of my life. Chugging along, limping to the next town, the drone of the one working cylinder took on a very curious verse. Go home, go home, go home, go home, go home, go home, go home. Not a soul on earth gave me a shot in hell of finishing that event. Not even the bike's manufacturer thought I could finish. And after a week of breakdown after breakdown after breakdown, the engine's taunting almost convinced me that they were right. But from somewhere deep within, I was suddenly overcome with a surge of energy. I stood up on the foot pegs, I opened up my helmet visor, and I screamed at the top of my lungs, I will not give up, and I will not go home. And I etched this statement across my windshield with a grease pencil, and I vowed no matter what, I was going to finish that event. And without a second doubt, I knew where I needed to go. I looked beyond the problem, I leaned hard into the wind, and I eventually dragged myself across the finish line. I will forever be grateful for taking the risk, the impossible 1,000,000-to-1 odds of finishing that event on such an unreliable, antiquated motorcycle. That ride, that day, that moment helped shape who I am and continues to give me strength to believe in myself at the most difficult and trying times. Inside every one of us here today is that same power and the ability to overcome our MS obstacles and to continue on a path towards a wonderful and fulfilling life. What I was able to learn from this event, and I hope you can as well, is that no matter how big the hill, there's always a way over or around it. You just might need to use your heart, your mind, and sometimes a grease pencil to do it. Ten years ago, I made my MS diagnosis public and began a fantastic adventure traveling by motorcycle every day possible while trying to encourage others dealing with challenges in life to recalculate their path as well. My goal is to officially document riding 1 million miles as an advocate, and my mission is fueled by having MS. My mission statement is pretty darn simple. I once was told a cure for MS was 1 million miles away, so I thought I'd just go get it and bring it back. We're almost there. Having a brain riddled with holes, having a physical or mental challenge, or riding a piece of crap motorcycle should never confine or define who we are. I know we all have different MS symptoms, and my course of the disease has been quite manageable compared to some. I certainly don't expect everyone in this room to run out, buy a motorcycle, and ride it all over creation. But I do know some of you were passionate about something at some time. And maybe that passion was put aside after getting diagnosed. So I challenge you to revisit that activity or find a related activity and look at it from a whole new angle. Get some help from assistive technology or just a different set of eyes. And I bet you might just see a brand new path to something that you can be excited about as well. There are millions of miles of roads on this earth, each and every one of them intersected with crossroads, representing different paths. And therefore, not all of us are supposed to take the fastest route. Slow down, recalculate, detour, wander, or shift, because a roundabout can still get you to your goal. And believe me, sometimes that ride, that journey, that side trip adventure will become much more important than your original destination. How's the food? Salad? Got salad? All right. That's about all I got. I want to thank you all for coming out, and I think we can take some questions. If you're interested, follow me. I left some swag on the tables there. I know there's only 3 months left of the calendar, but, a couple of calendars. I do a calendar every year. I also do a lot of posts on social media. If you want to follow me, it's Long Haul Paul, and that helps me grow my sponsors, which makes it possible for me to be out there riding. Social media is the way that they judge how well I'm doing. So, but yeah, I do a lot of posts on Facebook and YouTube, and if you care to subscribe or like, share, follow, or just get out of my way, because I'm on a mission to ride 1,000,000 miles. So.
I wanted to thank you for your awesome dialogue once again. Did everybody give Paul a round of applause? Yes, I see that. Okay, so our sponsors again for today's program, we have Bristol Myers Squibb and Genentech, Sandoz, TG Therapeutics, and our exhibitors. I don't know if everybody got a chance to see our exhibitors, but the exhibitors today were Alexion, Bristol Myers Squibb, Novartis, Sandoz, and TG Therapeutics. And I hope I'm not missing anybody. So Alexion, Bristol Myers Squibb, Novartis, Sandoz, and TG Therapeutics. Anyway, so here's question number one. Paul, after you reach your 1,000,000 miles, what will you do after that?
The plan is to wash the bike. And then I want to be the first person with MS to ride a motorcycle in space.
All right, thank you. All right, so the next question is, what are your goals for your again, they're serious about this. They want to know what you'll be doing after the 1,000,000 miles, and how will you help to raise more money for multiple sclerosis?
I'm going on vacation. Disneyland.
Another person is asking if you would, you'll be able to do any of those online fundraisers like you did when you were on the motorcycle sitting in one location, and how you were on there for like 24 straight hours.
So I've done, you mentioned earlier that I have 4 world records, but he didn't say the truth is there are 4 stupid world records. So I try to find something nobody's done before because it would be really stupid to do it. And then I do it as a fundraiser. So one of the fundraisers that Stuart's talking about is I took a big, large Yamaha motorcycle and I rode it 24 hours nonstop on a dyno machine, which is actually like a treadmill. You ever see a car when they're testing it for horsepower? Well, motorcycles, same thing. So it's on a big treadmill, and I rode it at 80, 90 miles an hour for 24 hours straight, live on Facebook like a Jerry Lewis telethon. And we did all kinds of crazy stuff. And of course, nobody had ever done that before, so that became a world record. More importantly, it raised $25,000 in 24 hours. Me eating spiders and all kinds of things. My granddaughter came and gave me a facial as I'm riding a motorcycle at 80 miles an hour. Had my hair washed. We did costume changes. The police showed up, tried to give me a ticket for speeding in the neighborhood. But I try to do silly things like that. I have a couple of other ideas that for fundraisers that I haven't made public yet. But I'm always looking for something silly and crazy. The last one I did was 2 years ago during COVID. I actually built a chopper. And if you know what a chopper is, it's about the most uncomfortable, loud, obnoxious motorcycle that you can think of. Well, I decided to ride one of those and try to set the record for coast to coast on it, on a chopper. So I did. I rode 2,900 miles in 36 hours, I think, nonstop on a loud, obnoxious chopper, very uncomfortable, as a fundraiser. So that was another one. Just nobody had done it because why would somebody ever do that? Again, it was that raised, I think, about $20,000. So I'm always looking to do some interesting things. I do run, if you ride motorcycles or you know people who ride motorcycles, every year I do something called the MS 5000, which allows other riders to join in and raise money for MS. And I don't know the total, but this is our 10th year doing it, and it usually raises $25,000 to $35,000 each year. So that's a great event. I think I have almost 60 riders all over the country, basically just documenting the amount of miles they ride over a 50-day period while asking their family and friends to donate in their name to the charity. So it's like the MS Walk, but we're bikers, not hikers. So.
Okay, thank you for that. Paul, I want to let you know, a person online made a comment. Awesome, Paul. I'm going to put back on my heels and head back to dancing. She's so impressed by what you're doing, okay? So, and that leads us to the last question that I have for you. A person is asking, how is it that with you having multiple sclerosis, are you able to get on a bike and ride all the mileage that you're traveling? And is your MS affecting you while you are traveling?
It's a good question. And most of my symptoms from MS are not physical. The bladder issues, and then of course, when I get overheated, that throws everything out the window. But my balance is good. My strength is pretty good. So for those reasons, I'm able to ride a motorcycle. However, I probably couldn't get out of the parking garage here without a GPS. My ability to my spatial recognition stuff, and even my GPS is talking to me. In my head, I hear right when it's saying left, and I look down and it says left. I said, I swear to God, you said right. And I turn around a lot. I get lost a lot, but without having some assistive technology to help me, I literally couldn't get out of a mall parking lot without a GPS. Even if I've been going there every day for a week, I still won't trust my memory as to where the exit is, that type of thing. So that's one thing I've learned to overcome with the GPS, and I have a tracking device on my bike too if I get really lost. I can ask the satellites where I am. I forget what was the other bit about that, but yeah. Where am I? Yeah, I've learned to overcome, those things. And when I get overheated, I start to learn the symptoms. I start to have a lot of cognitive issues, and that's when I know it's time to get off the road and get a hotel room for the night, or just even put myself into a gas station convenience store for 20 minutes, 30 minutes, have a cool drink, let my body temperature come back down, and then get back out there. So.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much, Paul. Let's give him a round of applause. So again, I want to thank, for the last time today, I want to thank Bristol Myers Squibb, Genentech, Sandoz, and TG Therapeutics for sponsoring today's program. And so I say thank you, and I hope you do all as well. And I'm going to call it quits for the day, and we're going to say adios, okay?